I'm speaking to the ignorance part of it. I think there was a Google spike, and did Joe Biden drop out of the race during like 2 days before Election Day? People didn't know
No. The spike continued on Election Day. It went up with more velocity on Election Day. That's people in the voting booth going, "Wait, what?
Where's Joe Biden?
We're doing. Who's Tim Walz? Is that a woman?
Like, is it like 1824? Like, what are we talking about? Like, you're on your fucking phone all day. What do you mean?
Everyone across the board is kind of saying that they're exhausted. And if the couch got this many votes, and I didn't even know that Joe Biden is he still alive?
I'm mad you guys told me that. I'm mad that Sachi told me the first part, and Dan, you told me the second part. I'm actually mad at you. I'm out of here. Because that's just too much, dude. Everybody's glued to their phone all day. I don't know how that happens.
Say really quickly, too. Democrats need to be mature, and they need to be honest. And they need to say, yes, there's misogyny. But it's not just misogyny from white men. Mm-hmm. It's misogyny from Hispanic men.
Right.
It's misogyny from black men, things we've all been talking about, who do not want a woman leading them. Might be race issues with Hispanics. They don't want a black woman as president of the United States. You know, the Democratic Party, I've always found when you're sitting around talking, they love to just sort of balkanize everybody into these separate groups and say, oh, white people don't like women and black people. No, it is time for the Democrats to say, okay, and you and I have talked about this before. A lot of Hispanic voters have problems with black candidates.
Right.
A lot
with other Hispanics. You got some that don't like each other. And some of the most misogynist things I've heard going on this Get Out the Vote tour came from black men. I mean, misogynist things. So you're absolutely right. It's not simplistic. And we've got to have real honest conversations about it.
They were the ones eating the pie. Only real heads will know that one. This is your Power Report special autopsy edition. Boy, didn't see that one coming. Kinda. We'll talk about that. I'm joined by Bam and Sachi. This is a great panel. Ravana's going to be on in a few minutes. She apologizes for the tardiness. Usually it's me. But Bam, I'm going to ask you the worst question ever. What are you going to wear on your birthday?
Don't know yet.
Okay.
My birthday already passed, so.
Party day.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, dodging questions already. That's going to be
I haven't thought about it.
Okay, cool. How have you been processing the past few days? I can definitely say it's been phases for me.
The first morning was, that was rough, but I think like at some point during that day, was that Wednesday? I was like, well, like how I really felt, I was like, I can't let Whitey get me down, honestly. That was it. I can't let Whitey get me down, so I'm going to just keep on doing what I do. Come what may.
Sachi, same question.
Yeah, same vibes. I was walking around the city because I work in DC, and the streets were deserted, and that kind of fit the vibe. And the place that I work at, I was telling Dan before this that it's usually really packed, completely empty, nobody was there. So it was a little eerie, but the day after that, I think same kind of thing. It was like, what can we do? We can't go change it up. Nothing's going to, stop us from going forward. Time only moves forward. You can't go backward in time and change it. I mean, that's what it is. I mean, that's the results are the results. So doesn't mean we give up, but the results are the results. That's where I'm at right now, feeling wise. Bye, boys.
I realized I was muted. I was like gonna be doing bad lip reading for the rest of the episode now. I went through like anger and sadness, and now I'm in like acceptance at this point where, but you know, like it's been phases of different things. I have had different conversations with different journalists, folks on the left, like I was just on a pre-recording of Ole and Friends, and like there's all just like different opinions of how people are processing this and the things they're kind of saying. I think a lot of it was sort of like a wow, we were right to be cynical sort of feeling, where I think early on Bam and I were talking a little bit about, I think we were on with Yasmin on a Power Report, and it was right when the whole Kamala Harris switcheroo was happening, and Bam and I were cynical and thinking this is such a racist and sexist country, it couldn't happen. And Yasmin, not to put all the blame on her or like, you know, do anything like that, because there are a lot of other people who were being more optimistic. There was polling that was optimistic. There's a reason to believe the polls were, you know, undercounting something. It turns out they weren't undercounting Harris support. They were undercounting Trump support, or maybe just like the amount of lack of voters compared to for the Democratic Party. I mean, overall, really, but definitely for the Democratic Party, I definitely think could have made up some ground. How is what an autopsy episode is all about. We'll get to some of those points and, you know, how that might have happened, but I don't know. How have y'all like had conversations about this? Otherwise, go. Also, I will be right back. I need to change my fan.
Whoa. Conversations. Well, I've had a few conversations, and you know, they've all been, you know, a variation of like, yeah, I'm not too surprised by the results. Although I wasn't stressing out before because Dan kind of told the story. That one episode of Power Report with Yasmin, when I did mention how misogynist and racist this country was, Yasmin shut me down. Not like completely shut it down. And I'm not like talking shit about her. I'm just recounting what happened. Was like, bam. She said, I'm so tired of hearing that. And then went on her rant about how basically we don't need to be worried because she got it. And I said, okay, you know what? I'm not even going to worry about it then. You're that confident? Okay. You must be that confident for a reason. So I wasn't stressing before. And, you know, we got what we got. America.
I was just kind of like, there's confidence and there's also like you want to have a little bit of hope because, you know, this is just like the grimiest election where Elon Musk was running ads like calling Kamala Harris the C word. Mark Johnson begged / set off the starting gun when Kamala was elected, was like nominated essentially by saying, please don't go with racism and sexism. We won't win. And then everyone, the Republican Party said, all right, bet absolutely not. Would hit the gas on it. And it worked in spades. No pun intended.
But going back to the conversations, like, you know, I'm never surprised about what seems on the surface as like American regression. I am somebody who always keeps the history of this country first in my politics.
So America first, bam, if you will.
So I can't get shocked about things like the white guy winning. You know, I'm not shocked by that. So yeah, it's like it sucks, but we'll see. You know, like we will see what happens, and you know, I got room. If they start trying to round people up, I got an open door here. You know, we will Anne Frank whoever we need to. Hopefully it doesn't end the same. But Sachi, what about your conversations?
It's funny, on one of my friends texted me, she's like, do you want to come out to the bars on Tuesday night? We're going to witness the first woman ever elected president. And I don't want to say it. I just said, I'm going to be really tired from work, but I don't want to say what was in my mind, which is that's not happening. I don't want to rain on your parade and break your heart.
What country do you think this is?
I'm like, listen, this is going to be 2016 all over again. This is what we're dealing with. And the thing is,
Japan's going to have a black woman president before America.
It's but the same kind of thing, same kind of feeling that I had was, again, based on the country's history, but also most recent history too. I kind of view this as America was taking a break from Trump in 2020, but they still loved his policies. Like, yeah, we can. He killed 1 million people with his COVID policy, but his economic policy, we still liked it. So we're just going to take a little break from him, and then we're going to go back to him. And I think. Also, the thing is, my family and I were discussing things. They were insisting that Kamala's going to win. She's going to dominate. She's going to dominate. But as the racist rhetoric kept on ramping up and everything just kept on going crazy, and he was serving fries and McDonald's and dancing on stage for 40 minutes and swinging the Ave Maria, but the polls didn't change at all. This was the one time I was like, okay, it's time to pay attention to the polls, because I think that kind of sealed the deal where you could have conversations about, yeah, there's going to be, great voter turnout or women are, pumped up. But the reality is it's just, we're a racist country, and we just have to come to grips with that. And that's what I was trying to tell people. And they weren't going to let a woman win. They definitely were never going to let a woman of color win at all. And it just, that's where we're at. So those are the conversations I had, and unfortunately, I didn't want it to be the case. But again, here we are.
I have a question for both of you. If you could, this is such a wild question, but I'm just going to go with it. If you could put on like a pie chart, the percentages of like racism, sexism, ignorance, and exhaustion that could be described as the American voter, and I definitely add exhaustion just because like of the lower turnout. I think 2020 was definitely an anomaly because like mail-in voting was made accessible, and many other reasons. But I just think there's a lot of disappointment in the Democratic Party right now, which is, I think, great and well deserved. But yeah, I think if I had to answer that question really quickly, it'd be like, and you don't have to use actual percentages and numbers. That's just going to be hard. But like, I'd say racism and sexism combined is definitely like at least 60% of it. And then 65% of it maybe. And then 35 is also just like the ignorance and exhaustion. And like that can be a perfectly debatable combination between those.
I think the exhausted person doesn't vote. So, like, you're just left with ignorance, racism, and sexism at the end of the day.
I meant 65-35. That wasn't clear.
Okay.
I'm bad at math, but not that bad.
Okay. But yeah, no, there's plenty of that. There's like, there's also what I just read this in the chat. Aaron saying Democrats talk down to people and tell them everything is fine when the people know it's not fine. Something else I was thinking about is that negativity is what sells. Like, Trump runs a completely 100% negative campaign. I was reading an article, and it was people that voted for Trump who think the economy is worse now than it was in 2020. When the whole shit was done for. But if you tell people enough, everything's bad. It's terrible. The economy is terrible. It's bad. It's terrible. A person is not going to say to their friend, hey, I'm doing pretty good, actually. No, if one person says I'm doing bad, everybody's got to agree with that. And Trump just runs on negative, and people hear that and they just get excited. If you tell people, I mean, and honestly, I never really believe when politicians say the economy's good or bad. Like I never really believe when they say, "Oh, we made 300,000 jobs." Like I don't really believe those numbers necessarily, but I know it's better than 2020. But if you tell people something bad enough, like they will believe it. Negativity sells. He's saying we're garbage dump. He's in Detroit saying the whole world's going to look like Detroit. You talk shit about their baseball team, they're going to punch you in the face. But you can tell, he can go say this city is trash and they're cheering because he's just running on negativity. Yeah, telling people like, no, things are pretty good, like, or things could be worse, guys. No. Tell me my life is terrible. Even though I'm going to go home with a full refrigerator with no real worries, tell me my life is terrible because I want to be angry at something. And that's a cultural problem, or maybe it's human nature. I don't know, because everybody's like that for the most part. But I think that's where Trump won his campaign, being himself and like how he was born and his personality, and also just running a negative campaign. That's going to win you the election.
Yeah, I was thinking about that just now, Bam. You mentioning that. So 2016, when he first won, people was like, "Oh, it was never really just the economy; it was always about the racism." I will say, I think buying into what Trump was saying and buying into that negativity, and we all made fun of JD Vance for going to the grocery store and saying, "My kids eat 18 eggs. Look at the price of eggs, right? They're at $9 in it for 12 dozen eggs." People bought into that, and that's the thing where Republicans did a good job is they didn't single issue voter really as much this election. They made a multitude of things, but what they did do is hammer hard at the economy, and just prices and prices and prices and prices. And did that contribute to that? Of course it did, but they showed that under this administration, this is what you're dealing with. And I think this is where I am willing to give kind of the benefit of the doubt to the voters who did vote for this, is that I think there was some actual economic anxiety, even though the anxiety was manipulated by Trump, and orchestrated by Trump, and they caved for that and his crazy fancy diabolical world where you're living in a city that's trash, and it's like, well, the people look around, it kind of feels that way, and this guy's saying something, so.
Yeah, because that city looked so great when Trump was president, though. Yeah. It just and also like I was whatever that article was. It was The Guardian, or I don't know, I can't remember, but it's just like you can tell, like that's the ignorance part of the pie chart. If you tell people something negative, they just want to believe it's so bad, no matter what their situation is. Tell me it's bad so I can believe it and I can be angry and I can complain, even though like I'm not even worried like that. And if Trump's economy is bad, all he's going to do is blame if there's a Democratic governor, he'll blame the governor. If it's a Democratic mayor, he'll blame the mayor. That's what he did the whole time. Let me just blame whatever the Democrat is around. If it's the governor, I'll say it's these Democratic governors. If it's the mayor, it's these Democratic mayors. They're just whatever negativity. He's not going to take any accountability. But people eat it up because of who he is. And yeah, I mean, I honestly don't really look at the campaign that Kamala ran. Like, what are you going to do? Like, I don't think she did anything to get beat like that. Like, people were like, we're fucking with that guy. Like, we like that guy. And then I'm going to get on Arabs later. Don't worry.
I was looking at the sort of like belt of counties in Pennsylvania where there were a lot of, Puerto Rico, or like Puerto Rican, big populations there. And other than the obvious ones, like around Philadelphia, Allentown, Center County was kind of close. Everything went like hard red still. I'm not sure if that's an indication of Trump's or Tony Hinchcliffe's joke not mattering at that really weird Madison Square Garden rally. But I think we're kind of just like, that was made to be, oh, Trump October surprised himself. No, not at all. That might have turned out voters.
No, it definitely, it for sure helped him. For sure. There's some person that was like, oh, like they're willing to say stuff like that. I love that. That got people off the couch, dude. Just like, I can't remember what episode it was. A few episodes ago, Dan, I don't know if we said this when Leftist Mafia was on, actually. I think it was when they were on. We both said if he drops the hard R, he's getting more votes. And he's getting more black men votes, actually.
You were kind of alluding to it, Bam, about how you don't think Kamala Harris deserved that. To what extent, again, I'm going to break out the pie chart. That's how I'm just going to do the analysis here. That's how I like my autopsies. Circular graphs. How much do you think the fault is the Kamala Harris campaign? And how much do you think the fault is, and to the extent by I mean that, I would define that as she inherited Biden's apparatus, which is Obama's apparatus, which were people who have been around since Clinton, versus the environment around her. See the other pie chart I mentioned earlier. What do you think?
I'm going to let Sachi go first because I'm going to scream. No, I'm joking.
So I was slightly look. She didn't have time on her side, technically speaking. I mean, 107 days to put together a campaign when Biden dropped out too late. I mean, he should have never ran in the first place. He should have just accepted himself as the first one-term president. Should have just given her the full reins after that. But at the same time, the appearance of not having a primaries was not a great look. And then I think I don't know. It just, this did not feel like, the lack of time did not help. But at the same time, it was just an over-reliance on word salad, I felt, often than it was, again, looking at the real environment around her and tapping into, Bam, like you said, the trying to even quell that negativity, just trying to sell 100%. This is like, everything is fine. Everything is fine. Everything is fine. Like Aaron just said too, like we need to save the status quo, and the status quo is living paycheck to paycheck. Ignoring that reality, I think, is what kind of ultimately doomed this campaign, but also just, I don't know. To me, there's a multitude of things, but a lot of it was just, she didn't give people a reason to vote for her, first of all. It was just her reason was, this is Trump. He's bad. Look what he did. Then this is what he's going to do again. Whereas it was just, there wasn't really, again, a reason to vote for her. I felt this, and that's partly not on her either. I think a lot of it has to do with Biden. Biden already created that apathy in the first place.
100%.
With how he handled Gaza. But her refusing to distance herself from that and everything that Biden was doing was not the best move. And going on The View and being asked, oh, is there anything different that you could do from Biden? And say, no, there's nothing I can do. I think everything is fine. And if you want to even go back before,
actually, more Republicans and neocons than Biden.
Yeah,
was kind of her response. She was like, I would have a Republican in my cabinet. It's like,
that's what it's
Biden already has like 3 or 4 Republicans in his cabinet. You don't need to like put the mask off that hard.
And we'll get into Gaza later, but first of all, I don't know whose thought it was, and maybe it's not her. Maybe it's also her fault for listening to whoever suggested this. But like, let's get Liz Cheney, the people who on January 6th and Trumpers hated, and think that's going to actually appeal to Republicans, a lady who lost her House seat by 30 plus points. Like, and then let's also consult with Hillary Clinton about, how to beat Trump, because that's going to work out well. It's just the decisions that were made, I think 100% fall on her and the campaign. And even before she was officially, taking over as the nominee, when she agreed, I think it was after the State of the Union, that she agreed with Tim Scott saying this is not a racist country. Those are things over time that people don't forget the messaging she had, even as when she was VP, right? So I think it's, again, a multitude of things, but I would more so place the emphasis on the campaign and the way that it was ran. Because to be honest, Swifties and Beyonce aren't going to save our democracy. At the end of the day, it's just not going to happen. Neither is Jennifer Lopez crying into the camera. So that's where.
Ma'am, your thoughts?
I unfortunately, Yasmin, I honestly didn't really think she had a chance. As far as her campaign, it's not like Trump ran a good campaign. Like, look what this fool's doing on his campaign. Like, comparing the two, she should have won like he did, compared to what this fool was doing on his campaign. Like, he's a bumbling idiot. He's just doing and saying whatever. And it's really just like what a white rich man can get away with that somebody who's not that cannot. Like, us here, we're like educated voters and stuff like that. We're looking at these different things and we're, dissecting what she's talking about. Most people aren't doing that. Like, they're not taking it that serious. They're just like, oh, I'm hearing him say the economy's so bad and I think it's bad, so I'm going to vote for him. We'll see. And I don't really want this person to be the president. I'd rather have him. Like, it should, let's look at this in reality. It should be enough that she is not Donald Trump, a man who was found liable for rape and lost twice, has to pay $80 million to the woman he was found liable of sexually assaulting. It should be enough. And I think that the reason that it's not is something that we have to look at as a society. It's bigger. It's not politics. The fact that a whole ass guilty, you got to pay $80 million. There's people that don't even know about that. There's so many people that don't know that he was found civilly liable for rape and has to pay this woman $80 million. So many people don't know about that. I mean, and the people that do will still vote for him. And that's a society problem. That's a misogyny problem. And that's a race problem. It didn't matter what Kamala did. It didn't matter. What is she going to do to make up all them votes she lost? What's she going to do? Trump, let me not talk about Palestine. There was nothing she was going to do to make that up. If you want to say the Democrats did something bad, sadly, it was running a woman. If that's what they did, if that was the politics that was bad, it was that. Because Trump beat two women and lost to Joe Biden. Joke Biden.
Speaking to the ignorance part of it, I think there was a Google spike and did Joe Biden drop out of the race during like 2 days before Election Day? People didn't know.
No. The spike continued on Election Day. It went up with more velocity on Election Day. That's people in the voting booth going, wait, what?
Where's Joe Biden?
Who's Tim Walz? Is that a woman?
Is it like 1824? Like, what are we talking about? Like, you're on your fucking phone all day. What do you mean? But yeah, like, we're talking like educated people about this stuff. Like,
and we see to your point, Bam, really fast. Like, the Democrats are overperforming with college educated voters, and with everyone else, it's just like, I'm
gonna go vote. Oh, fucking Trump, man! I'm gonna vote for Trump. That's what everybody else is doing, dude. It's a bunch of fucking gorillas that's just like, I'm gonna vote for Trump. And you see what Al Sharpton said about the misogyny from black men. Now, granted, most black men did not vote for Trump, but it was 3 times more than black women.
That's fair. I love the animation that we're having here. Pinkerbell says, and Dems are dog shit at messaging their accomplishments because people in charge are elitist, out of touch fucks who don't even know.
It doesn't matter.
Don't go to college.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. No, name me a president who ever talked about canceling student debt. It's never happened.
I mean, Joe Biden did. He just he didn't want to give it the old college try. He never intended to.
No president ever talked about student debt.
And to be fair, he has
that doesn't matter.
They're very it's not in the widespread cases that I think it would have been better if he at least had a fight for it. I mean, I'm not sure if it would have improved his opinion after what we're seeing in Palestine, but I'm also except for certain districts where Ilhan Omar, safe. Rashida Tlaib, safe. Also, those are heavily Muslim districts. In some cases, okay, that totally makes sense. But I think there's a lot of reasons that you can pick at of why people didn't turn out. But I definitely think that's one of the reasons. And that's why I think the exhaustion sort of piece is you hear it on all sides. You hear Republicans say they're exhausted. Not we need to really find common course with them on a lot of their beliefs and choices at this point, because I really can't bring myself to say they deserve what's coming, but they're going to see what's coming. It's just, I think everyone across the board is kind of saying that they're exhausted. And if the couch got this many votes and, I didn't even know that Joe Biden, is he still alive?
I'm mad you guys told me that. I'm mad that Sachi told me the first part and Dan, you told me the second part. I'm actually mad at you. I'm out of here. Because that's just too much, dude. Everybody's glued to their phone all day. I don't know how that happens.
But I mean, at the same time, I think it does kind of speak to that exhaustion. Especially, I mean, granted, duopoly is probably what we're going to be stuck with for as long as I think we can be stuck with until something actually changes, which I don't foresee that happening. And I think that's also another big factor of this exhaustion, is that people are tired of being told you've only got one or the other, right? And that's just in a country where we're being told you have all the options, but with your politics you only get 2, right? I think that's an issue.
I think also the exhaustion just comes from the election season, which is, it just lasts so long. You get inundated. You're trying to watch a fucking baseball game and you're getting told that Kamala wants to turn your kids trans and cares about they, them, not you. It's just, people get exhausted and also
that man who came up with that framing probably deserves more money than any Democratic strategist that worked for the Harris campaign.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, and also the exhaust. It is.
And also, can I say really fast, whether or not that was effective or not, I'm gonna guess it had some good effect to it. That doesn't make fighting for trans rights any less salient. There are some people who said that, this isn't working politically. People don't like this, and it's there was a point where. Today is a point where people didn't like the idea of a black person being president, or a black woman being president, which is now today. All right. It doesn't mean you don't act, that you don't have to activate for. I think, and something I was hearing and someone else talk about was that, it was a pretty salient point, was that to the extent there is leftist media, rather than sort of being, okay, maybe we don't love Kamala Harris that much, but this is just the like good option. Maybe that contributes to some depressed turnout as well, because like we're not wrong, but also this is going to be so much worse.
Damn it! I was just gonna respond to something you said, and then I forgot it. And I also forgot what I was saying before that. So whatever.
I'm kind of talking about the Democratic Party, and one thing I wanted to get to what you said was that.
This is what I was gonna say. Sorry. I think that the anti-trans thing didn't work in the midterms. And that makes sense because there's like nobody to like glom onto it. When it comes to like Trump, I feel like it was easier to like work the anti-trans stuff because there's like a person that is associated with. But like Glenn Youngkin, even though I think he won, but like it didn't really work in the midterms because the cult of personality is around Trump. And even when it like when they're talking about like the people he endorsed in the midterms last time like didn't do that well, it's because they're not Trump. You know, like if you're telling me that people didn't even know Joe Biden was running, like they're definitely not listening to who are the people that Trump endorsed. Like that's that's like 1 degree of separation, and apparently people in this country have mush for brains. But and I'm joking about that. I actually don't want to do that like American voters are dumb thing that much. But
That much.
I can see why the anti-trans thing didn't work in the midterms, and I can see why it worked now. And apparently the anti-trans thing was big in the South, especially in Georgia.
Which is interesting because never mind.
Because Thugger's home? He was wearing dresses. He should have got them.
Where do all these anti-trans, pro-Trump black men who get caught dating trans women and get exposed, they all live in the South?
Well, yeah, because I mean, Atlanta is the gay black capital of the world. So,
case in point. That's why Bam trying to cancel me and Bamize me just now. It's completely unwarranted.
I don't know how I did that. I'm going to cancel myself later. Trust me.
And the monkey noises then?
Yeah, those are for you, Dan.
Sachi, you have a follow-up?
I do not.